The door opened before I knocked. That should have been my first warning. That and the fact that nobody had lived in the Holloway house for 30 years, or so everyone in town claimed. But I was 20 minutes late on a delivery, my manager was already threatening to dock my pay, and the guy on the phone had promised a $50 tip if I got there before 9. I needed that $50 more than I needed answers. My name's Jake, and 3 weeks ago, I was exactly the kind of desperate that makes you ignore red flags. The kind where you've watched your mom choose between her heart medication and the electric bill so many times you've stopped trying to talk her out of it. The kind where you're wearing your dead grandfather's work boots because you can't afford new ones, and you've gotten used to the way they pinch your left foot with every step. 3 weeks ago, I still believed that hard work and good intentions were enough. That if I just kept my head down, delivered enough pizzas, aced enough community college exams, I could build something better for us. Prove that I wasn't like my father, the man who walked out when I was 12 with nothing but a duffel bag and a string of promises he never kept. The Holloway house stood at the end of Maple Street like a rotting tooth, all peeling paint and boarded windows. As I climbed the porch steps, warped wood groaning under my weight, I noticed the windows weren't just dark. They were watching dark. The kind of darkness that presses back when you look at it. The porch light flickered. Once, twice. Then the door swung inward with a sound like a sigh. "Hello?" My voice cracked. The pizza box was warm against my chest, the smell of pepperoni suddenly nauseating. "Delivery for Holloway?" Nobody answered, but somewhere deep in the house I heard it, a sound like metal scraping against concrete. Deliberate, rhythmic. Someone's down there. I should have left, gotten in my beat-up Honda, driven straight home, taken the hit on my pay. That's what the old Jake would have done, the one who followed rules and believed in karma and thought the universe rewarded good people. But the old Jake didn't have a mother who'd cried that morning over a past due notice, who'd pretended she wasn't crying, turned away so I wouldn't see, but her shoulders shook anyway. The old Jake hadn't heard her whisper to herself, "I'm so tired, Robert," my father's name, after all these years, like some part of her was still waiting for a man who'd forgotten we existed. So I stepped inside. The air was wrong, too cold for October. It smelled like old copper and something else, something that reminded me of the nursing home where Grandpa died, that mixture of decay and industrial cleaner that never quite masks what's underneath. I found the basement door hanging open, a slash of deeper darkness against the dim hallway. The scraping sound had stopped. In its place, a silence so complete I could hear my own heartbeat thundering in my ears. The stairs groaned under each step. 13 of them, I counted, some stupid part of my brain clinging to details because the rest of me knew I was making a mistake, the kind of mistake you can't unmake. The basement was smaller than I expected. A single bulb dangled from the ceiling, swaying slightly even though there was no breeze. Its light fell on a workbench, rusted tools hanging on the wall, and, in the corner, sitting like it had been waiting for me, a safe. Not some modern digital thing, an old iron beast, the kind you'd see in westerns, with a combination dial and a handle. The door was open, just slightly, just enough to see the glint of something gold inside. I stood there, frozen, the pizza box slipping from my hands. It hit the concrete with a wet slap, the lid popping open, but I couldn't look away from that crack of light. Because I knew, the way you know in dreams when you're about to fall, that whatever was in that safe wasn't meant for me. That opening it wider would split my life into before and after, and there'd be no going back. The smart thing would have been to run. But here's what 3 weeks of hindsight has taught me. Desperation doesn't make you do stupid things. It makes you do impossible things. Things you judge someone else for without hesitation. Things that make perfect sense at 9:47 p.m. in a stranger's basement when you're choosing between your soul and your mother's survival. I opened the safe. 23 gold bars. Each one stamped with a date, 1963, and a symbol I didn't recognize. Each one worth more than my mom had earned in her entire life. Each one heavy enough to crush the person I'd been trying so hard to become. And beneath them, wrapped in oilcloth like someone had been protecting it, a photograph. My hands shook as I lifted it. The edges were brown with age, but the image was clear. A young man, maybe 25, standing in front of this very house. He was smiling, confident. One hand rested on the shoulder of a little boy, maybe 7 or 8. The man was wearing my grandfather's watch, the one I'd seen in the shoebox under Mom's bed, the one she'd never explained. The little boy had my father's eyes. I don't remember the exact moment I decided to take it, the gold, I mean. Maybe it was when I noticed my mother's medication bottles lined up on the workbench upstairs, labels matching the ones on our kitchen counter. Maybe it was when I found my own name carved into the basement's wooden support beam, letters I sure as hell didn't put there. Or maybe it was when I heard the car pull up outside, saw headlights sweep across the small basement window, and realized someone had known I was coming here all along. What I found in that basement wasn't just gold. It was a story someone had buried so deep they'd convinced an entire town it never happened. A story about my family, about my grandfather's accident at the old factory, about why my father really left, about how some legacies aren't gifts, they're curses wrapped in 23 bars of gold, waiting for the right desperate fool to claim them. I took the gold, all of it. I loaded it into my pizza delivery bag, walked out the front door past the black sedan idling at the curb, drove home and shoved it under my bed. I didn't sleep that night, or the next. I just lay there staring at the ceiling, listening to my mother breathe in the next room, and wondering if my father had felt this exact same weight pressing on his chest the night before he disappeared. Because here's the thing they don't tell you about finding a fortune you didn't earn. You don't get to enjoy it. You get to carry it. Every decision becomes a calculation. Every kindness becomes a transaction. Every time you look at your mother, you're not seeing the woman who raised you. You're seeing the justification for everything you're about to become. 3 weeks later, the people who left that gold have started looking for it. And me. 3 weeks later, I've discovered that my grandfather didn't die in an accident. 3 weeks later, I've learned that the man who ordered that pizza, the one who offered me $50 to walk into a trap, has been dead for 6 years. And 3 weeks later, I finally understand why my father left without saying goodbye. Because he was running from the same thing that's coming for me now. This story isn't about getting rich. It's about discovering that some treasures are traps, some family secrets are warnings, and some choices echo across generations until someone finally has the courage or the stupidity to break the cycle. If you've ever inherited a mess you didn't make, if you've ever had to choose between loyalty and survival, if you've ever wondered if you're destined to repeat your parents' worst mistakes, this story is your story too. Hit that like button if you're ready to find out what happens when one pizza delivery changes everything. Subscribe, because the people who want their gold back are just the beginning. Drop a comment and tell me, if you found out your family had buried something dangerous, would you dig it up or leave it buried? Because I dug, and now I can't stop what's coming. Chapter 1 drops tomorrow, and trust me, you're not ready for what's in that photograph. The gold sat under my bed for 48 hours before I touched it again. Not because I didn't want to. God, I wanted to. Every time Mom coughed in the next room, every time I heard her pills rattling in their bottles, I wanted to march into a bank and cash in our salvation. But banks ask questions, and 23 gold bars stamped with a date from 1963 raise the kind of questions that end with handcuffs. So I researched instead. Sat in the community college library on my laptop, searching Unmarked Gold Bars 1963 and Holloway Family History until my eyes burned. What I found made the gold feel heavier. In 1963, the Riverside Industrial Factory had a vault break-in. 23 gold bars vanished, payment for a government contract that was never completed. The prime suspect was the foreman, a man named Thomas Holloway, my grandfather's best friend, the man who supposedly died in the same factory accident that killed my grandfather 6 months later. Except Thomas Holloway didn't die. He just disappeared, bought that Victorian house on Maple Street, and became a ghost story. And my grandfather, William Carter, the man whose boots I was wearing, he'd been working security the night of the theft. I sat in that library, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, and felt the past reassemble itself into something monstrous. My grandfather had been implicated but never charged. Lack of evidence, the newspaper said. But everyone in town had whispered the truth. He'd helped steal that gold, and then someone had made sure he'd never talk. That night, I pulled the photograph from under my mattress, studied my grandfather's face, the confidence in his smile, the way his hand rested possessively on that little boy's shoulder. My father, at 7, already learning what it meant to be a Carter, to inherit secrets instead of stability. Mom knocked on my door around midnight. "Jake, you okay in there?" "Fine, Mom." My voice sounded hollow even to me. "You've been so quiet lately, distracted. Is school okay?" School, work, normal life. All of it felt like a play I was no longer performing in. Just tired. Through the door, I heard her weight shift. The floorboard creaked. The same loose board that had been creaking since I was a kid. The one we'd never fixed because fixing things cost money we didn't have. "Your father used to get quiet like this," she said softly, "right before he left." The comparison hit like a slap. I'm not him. "I know, baby, I know you're not." But she didn't sound convinced. "Good night." I waited until her bedroom door closed. Then I pulled the gold from under my bed, just 1 bar, and held it in my hands. It was heavier than it looked, dense, real, the kind of real that changes everything it touches. In the morning, I'd find a way to sell it, somewhere discreet, somewhere that didn't ask questions about dead men and stolen fortunes. I'd pay off Mom's medical bills, our rent, maybe get us into a better apartment. I'd do what my grandfather and father couldn't. I'd use this curse for something good. That's what I told myself anyway, as I carved my own lies into the foundation of our future. I found him through a guy who delivered with me, Marcus, who had a cousin who knew a guy. That's how these things work when you're moving something you shouldn't. A chain of people who don't ask questions because they don't want answers. His name was Vincent. We met in a warehouse district at 11 p.m. on a Thursday. He was older than I expected, maybe 60, with gray hair slicked back and eyes that had seen too much to be surprised by anything. He examined the single gold bar I'd brought under a jeweler's loupe, turning it slowly in his weathered hands. 1963, he said, not looking up. Riverside factory robbery. My blood went cold. I don't know what you're... Kid, he set the bar down between us. I've been in this business 40 years. You think this is the first piece of that haul I've seen? The warehouse suddenly felt smaller, colder. How many others have come through? Over the years? 3, maybe 4. He studied me with those flat, knowing eyes. You're a Carter, aren't you? You've got the look. I should have run, should have grabbed the gold and disappeared. But desperation makes you stupid. My mother's sick. I don't care why you need it. I care if you know what you're doing." Vincent pulled out a cigarette, lit it, exhaled smoke that hung in the still air. Thomas Holloway had partners, people who've been looking for their share for 60 years. You showing up with this, it's like ringing a dinner bell. Nobody knows I have it. He laughed, sharp, humorless. You walked into the Holloway house and walked out with a pizza bag that suddenly weighed 40 pounds more. You think nobody noticed? Kid, there's a black sedan been following you for 3 days. You just haven't been paying attention. The world tilted. I thought about the car I'd passed on my way here, the one that had been parked outside the pizza shop yesterday, the same car that had been idling outside the Holloway house that night. What do they want? The rest of it, and probably to make sure you don't talk. Vincent tapped ash onto the concrete floor. But that's not my problem. I'll give you $15,000 for this bar. Market value's $20, but stupid tax is $5. $15,000. Enough to cover 3 months of Mom's medication. Enough to breathe. I need more. Then bring more bars. But understand something. Every bar you sell paints a bigger target on your back. The smart play? Take this 15, get your mother, and disappear. New city, new names. Whatever that gold bought you isn't worth what it's gonna cost. But I was already doing the math. 23 bars. $345,000. Enough to save Mom. Enough to start over. Enough to prove I wasn't my father. That I could take this poisoned legacy and transform it into something clean. Vincent counted out $100 bills while I watched. When he finished, he pushed them across the table. Word of advice? Your grandfather tried to play this game. So did your father. You know how both those stories ended. I took the money. It felt thinner than I'd imagined, less significant. One more thing, Vincent said as I turned to leave. The man who ordered that pizza to the Holloway house, his name was Richard Crane. He was Thomas Holloway's partner. Died 6 years ago in a car accident. He paused. So who made that call, kid? I didn't have an answer. Still don't. I saw it 3 blocks from the warehouse. Black Cadillac, tinted windows, moving 2 car lengths behind me with the precision of someone who'd done this before. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tight my knuckles went white. Mom was awake when I got home, sitting at the kitchen table in her bathrobe, a cold cup of tea in front of her. She looked smaller than usual, frailer, the kind of fragile that made the $15,000 in my jacket feel both essential and completely insufficient. Where were you? Not accusatory, just tired. Couldn't sleep, went for a drive. I kissed her forehead, tasted the salt to stress sweat. You should be in bed. I had the dream again. She stared into her tea like she could read the future there. The one where your father comes back. He's standing in the doorway, but he won't come inside. Just stands there, looking at me like he's trying to remember who I am. I'd heard about this dream before. She'd been having it since I was 14. It's just a dream, Mom. Is it? She looked up at me, and in the kitchen's harsh light, I saw every year of struggle carved into her face. You're hiding something, Jake. Same way he did at the end. I can feel it. I'm not. Don't lie to me. Her voice cracked. Please. I've had enough lies from Carter men to last me the rest of my life. So I showed her the money. Not where it came from, just that I had it. $15,000 in hundreds spread across our kitchen table like proof of something better. Her hand went to her mouth. Jake, what did you do? I found a better paying delivery job, private clients, cash tips. We can pay off your medical bills, get caught up on rent, maybe even... No, she pushed the money back toward me. I don't want this. Mom, you need your medication. I need you to not become your father. Tears tracked down her cheeks. Money changed him, Jake. Not having it and then suddenly getting it. He started taking risks, making promises. And then one day he just wasn't the man I married anymore. I'd never heard this version, never heard her explain why he left, just that he did. "What kind of money?" I asked. She closed her eyes. "He never told me where it came from, just that we'd be set, that he'd found something that would change everything." When she opened her eyes again, they were haunted. 3 months later, he was gone, and whatever he'd found, he took it with him. The photograph, the gold, the basement with my name carved into it, pieces of a story assembling themselves into something I didn't want to see. "Did you know my grandfather was suspected in a robbery?" Mom's face went carefully blank. The kind of blank that's an answer itself. "Where did you hear that?" "Doesn't matter. Did you? Your grandfather was a good man who made a mistake trusting the wrong people. The town never let him forget it. Rumors destroyed him long before that accident did." She reached across the table, grabbed my hands. "Please, Jake, whatever you're involved in, walk away. This family has lost enough to secrets." But I was already in too deep. The black sedan outside was proof of that. The phone call from a dead man was proof. My name carved into a basement I'd never visited was proof. "I love you, Mom." I pulled my hands away, pocketed the money. "And I'm going to take care of you. That's a promise." "That's what your father said." Her voice was barely a whisper. "Right before he disappeared." When does protecting someone you love become the very thing that destroys them? I went back to the Holloway house the next night. Not because I wanted to, because I had to. Because my name had been carved into that basement, and I needed to understand why. The door was locked this time, boarded shut, actually, with fresh 2x4s nailed across the frame. Someone didn't want anyone going back inside, which meant someone knew I'd been there. Someone was watching. I found a basement window around back, half hidden by overgrown weeds. Kicked it in with my grandfather's boots. The pinch in my left foot suddenly feeling less like discomfort and more like inheritance. Like his pain becoming mine across decades. The basement was different, emptied. The safe was gone. The workbench cleared. Even the tools had been removed from their hooks on the wall. But the wooden support beam was still there, and carved into it, crude letters, maybe done with a knife, was my name, Jake Carter, dated 3 months ago. I hadn't been there 3 months ago, hadn't known this place existed, but someone had carved my name and waited for me to find it. Someone had orchestrated the pizza delivery, the open door, the convenient discovery. I'd thought I was stealing. I'd actually been recruited. My phone buzzed, unknown number. "You shouldn't be there." I spun around, but the basement was empty. Just me and a voice on the phone. Who is this? Someone trying to keep you alive. Get out of that house, now. Not until you tell me what's going on. Why was my name? Because you're the heir, Jake. 4th generation. Your great-grandfather stole that gold from the factory in 1963. Your grandfather helped hide it. Your father tried to reclaim it and failed. Now it's your turn. That's how this works. The debt passes down until someone's smart enough to finish what was started. The voice was male, older, with an accent I couldn't place. What debt? The gold was down payment on a job that never got completed. People paid. People expected results. When your great-grandfather died, the debt transferred. When your grandfather died, it transferred again. Your father knew. That's why he ran. Thought if he disappeared, the chain would break. But it didn't. No, it just made you an orphan to a debt you didn't know existed. And now you've got the gold, which means you've got responsibility. 23 bars. Each one represents a promise made by a dead man. You keep them? Fine. But you owe 23 favors to people who've been waiting 60 years to collect. I felt sick. What kind of favors? The kind that put you in prison or a grave. Maybe both. A pause. Or you could do the smart thing. Give the gold back. Walk away. Let the debt die with your generation. Give it back to who? Holloway's partners? There's a meeting. 3 days. I'll send you the address. You bring all 23 bars, you walk away clean. You keep even one? The voice went cold. Then you're your father, kid, and we both know how that story ends. The call disconnected. I stood in that empty basement, my name carved into rotting wood above my head, and felt the full weight of what I'd inherited. Not just gold, not just money. A generational curse that transformed every Carter man into a liar and a thief, justified by desperation, destroyed by greed. Mom had begged me to walk away. Vincent had warned me. Even this stranger on the phone was offering an exit. But $15,000 was already gone, paid to a pharmacy, a landlord, a utility company. The gold wasn't abstract anymore. It was food in our refrigerator, medicine in Mom's cabinet, time we wouldn't have had otherwise. I climbed out of that basement knowing I wouldn't give it back. Couldn't, because the curse wasn't the gold itself. It was needing it so badly you'd sacrifice anything to keep it. Even your soul. Especially your soul. The address led to a warehouse near the docks. Not the same one where I'd met Vincent. This was older, more industrial. The kind of place where bad things happened and nobody asked questions because nobody wanted answers. 3 men waited inside. 2 I didn't recognize. Muscle, clearly, with the kind of bored menace of people paid to hurt when instructed. The 3rd I knew from research. Marcus Holloway, Thomas's grandson, my grandfather's best friend's legacy, just like I was mine. Jake Carter, Marcus smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. You look just like your grandfather. Same build, same stubborn jaw. I bet you've got his temper, too. I set the duffel bag on the concrete floor between us. 5 bars, not all 23, not even close. This is what I can give you, right now. The smile disappeared. The deal was all 23. The deal was made by dead men about money stolen before I was born. I don't owe you my great-grandfather's debt. That's not how this works. Marcus nodded to his muscle. They moved forward, flanking me. See, Jake, your family took something that belonged to my family. That gold was supposed to fund an operation. Weapons, transport, payoffs. Instead, your great-grandfather got greedy. My great-grandfather went to prison. Your grandfather helped hide the evidence. My grandfather died hunting for it. This isn't about money anymore. It's about balance. Then take the 5 bars and call it even. 5 bars is about 100,000. We're owed $3 million. Adjusted for inflation, interest, and 60 years of lost opportunity, we're owed your life, kid, and your mother's, and probably a few other Carter descendants I haven't tracked down yet. My mother. The threat hung in the air like smoke. You touch her? We don't have to touch her. She's got, what, 6 months? Maybe 8 if she's lucky. Heart condition, right? Costs about $5,000 a month in medication. Marcus pulled out his phone, showed me photos. Mom at the pharmacy, Mom at the grocery store, Mom sitting on our porch, looking small and scared. We've been watching, waiting. Your father was smarter than you. He knew he couldn't win, so he ran. You thought you could steal from us and play hero. The rage that filled me was familiar. I'd felt it when my father left, when bill collectors called. When Mom chose medicine over food, it was Carter rage, inherited, nurtured by poverty and helplessness. What do you want? The gold, all of it, and a favor. What kind of favor? Marcus smiled again. This time it was genuine, excited. There's a safe deposit box in First National Bank, keys in the possession of a man named Gerald Reeves, retired cop, lives alone, paranoid as hell. That key opens a box containing documents that prove Thomas Holloway didn't work alone on the robbery. Names, dates, wire transfers, everything the FBI would need to reopen the case and drag every family connected to that gold through the mud. You want me to steal the key. I want you to earn back your family's honor. Your great-grandfather betrayed mine. Your grandfather helped cover it up. Your father ran like a coward. You're gonna make it right. Get me that key, deliver the rest of the gold, and we'll call the debt paid. You and your mother can live whatever's left of your lives in peace." I wanted to refuse, wanted to fight, but the photos of Mom, fragile, unaware she was being hunted, drained the resistance out of me. "How long do I have?" "1 week." "And Jake?" Marcus's voice dropped. "Your father tried to negotiate too, tried to buy more time. They found him 3 states away, living under a fake name, working construction. Want to know what we did to him?" My blood ran cold. "He's dead?" "Worse, he's alive. And every day he wakes up knowing he failed, knowing his cowardice cost his family everything. Don't be your father, Jake. Be the man who ends this. Is there any crime you wouldn't commit to save the person you love most?" Gerald Reeves lived in a small house on the edge of town. Chain-link fence, dog bowls on the porch, bars on the windows. 28 years on the force, according to my research, retired 5 years ago. Wife dead from cancer 2 years after that. Now he spent his days at the shooting range and his nights at the VFW, drinking with other men whose lives were defined by what they used to be. I watched him for 3 days, learned his patterns. Coffee at 6 a.m., newspaper on the porch by 6:15, shower at 6:30, breakfast at 7. He moved like clockwork, a man whose entire identity was built on order and routine because chaos had taken everything else. On the 4th day, I approached him at the range. "Mr. Reeves?" He looked up from loading his gun, eyes narrowed with cop suspicion that never really retires. "Do I know you?" "Jake Carter. I'm writing a paper for community college about the 1963 Riverside factory robbery. I heard you worked that case." Something flickered across his face. Recognition. Maybe fear. "That case is closed, but not solved. The gold was never recovered. Thomas Holloway was never caught. Holloway's dead. Has been for decades." He turned back to his target practice, dismissing me. What if he's not? What if he's been hiding all this time, waiting for the right moment to resurface? The gun stayed pointed downrange, but Reeves wasn't shooting anymore. Why would a college kid care about a 60-year-old robbery? Because my grandfather was William Carter, the security guard who died 6 months after the theft. The one everyone said helped Holloway steal that gold. Reeves's jaw tightened. Your grandfather was a good man who got caught up in bad business. Don't dig into this, kid. Some graves are meant to stay buried. Is that why you have a safe deposit box with evidence nobody else could access? Because you wanted to keep it buried? Now he turned to face me fully, gun lowered but still in his hand. Who told you about that? Doesn't matter. I need to see what's inside. No. Please. My mother is sick. People are threatening her because of something my great-grandfather did. If I can prove my family wasn't involved... Your family was involved. Reeves's voice was harsh. William Carter wasn't a victim. He was a co-conspirator. He helped plan the robbery, helped hide the gold, and when the heat got too intense, he had an accident that made sure he'd never testify. Your grandfather wasn't murdered, Jake. He was silenced by the people he helped. The words hit like bullets. You're lying. I'm the only one who told you the truth. Everyone else, Marcus Holloway, Vincent, whoever else you've been talking to, they're using you. That gold is cursed, son. It's destroyed every person who's touched it. Your great-grandfather died in a factory fire. Your grandfather in a suspicious accident. Your father disappeared rather than deal with what it cost him. You want to be next in line? My mother will die without the money. Your mother will die either way. But if you walk away now, she dies peacefully, in her sleep, thinking her son was a good man. You keep chasing this gold, she dies knowing you became exactly what your father was, exactly what your grandfather was. Just another Carter man who chose money over morality. I thought about the 15,000 I'd already spent, the 5 bars I'd given Marcus, the 23 promises I'd inherited. The key, I said. Where is it? Reeves studied me for a long moment. Then he shook his head, disappointed but not surprised. You're going to break into my house, aren't you? Going to wait until I'm gone and tear the place apart looking for it. I don't want to, but you will, because that's what Carter men do. They justify their crimes with noble intentions right up until the moment they're standing in a basement, staring at gold that isn't theirs, making the same choice their fathers made. He pulled a key from his pocket. Small, brass, ordinary. Save yourself the trouble. Box 447 at First National. Documents inside will confirm everything you don't want to know about your family, about mine, about every family in this town who profited from that robbery. I took the key. It was warm from his body heat. One question, Reeves said. When this is over and you're looking at your mother, knowing what you did to buy her a few more months, will it have been worth it? I didn't have an answer. Still don't. First National Bank opened at 9 a.m. I was there at 8:50, hands shaking, key burning a hole in my pocket. The lobby smelled like old money and broken promises. Marble floors, fluorescent lights, tellers behind glass like they were in cages instead of us. Box 447 was in the vault. The attendant, young woman, maybe 25, bored with her life in ways I recognized, didn't ask questions. Just verified my forged signature, led me to a private room, and left me alone with 60 years of secrets. Inside the box, photographs, documents, and a videotape labeled insurance. The photographs came first. My great-grandfather, William Carter Sr., shaking hands with Thomas Holloway. Another of them standing beside a truck, gold bars visible in the bed. A third showing both men with 5 others, faces I didn't recognize, but their body language screamed conspiracy. The documents were worse. Ledgers, payments, names. The gold hadn't been stolen for personal gain. It had been stolen to fund something bigger, an operation. Weapons purchases, real estate acquisitions, construction contracts. The list went on for pages, each entry more damning than the last. And at the bottom, dated 1964, a single name that made my stomach drop. Robert Carter, my father, listed as next generation contact. He'd known. My entire childhood, every lie he told, every time he'd looked at me and promised things would get better, he'd known about the gold, known about the debt, and he'd run anyway, leaving me to inherit what he couldn't handle. The videotape was the worst. I found an old TV and VCR in a storage closet. First National still kept analog equipment for exactly this reason. The tape was grainy, dated 1995, showing a younger Gerald Reeves interviewing someone off camera. State your name for the record. William Carter Jr., my grandfather's voice. I'd never heard it before. Mom had destroyed all the recordings after he died. It was deeper than I'd imagined, rougher. You understand you're not under arrest? This is voluntary testimony. I understand. Tell me about the gold. A long pause. Then, my father stole it with Thomas Holloway. They had partners, men who'd paid for a job that never got completed. When the heat came down, Dad panicked, decided to hide the gold instead of returning it. Figured he could wait them out. What happened? They killed him, made it look like a factory fire. I was 13. After the funeral, Holloway came to me, said the debt was mine now. Said when I turned 18, I'd have to decide, continue my father's work or end up like him. What did you choose? I tried to run, got married, had a kid, thought maybe if I lived clean, they'd forget. But they never forget. When Jake was born, Marcus Holloway showed up at the hospital, held my son, smiled at me, said, "Fourth generation, this one'll finish what your father started." My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold the remote. Did you ever try to return the gold? Couldn't find it. Dad hid it somewhere, and Holloway was the only other person who knew. After Dad died, the location died with him. I spent 20 years searching. Tore apart the old Holloway house 3 times. Never found it. Until your son did. Silence on the tape. Then, Jake found it? 3 weeks ago. Walked into the basement, found the safe open, took all 23 bars. Holloway's people know. They've been waiting. My grandfather's voice broke. Get him out, please. Get him and his mother out of town before... It's too late for that. The debt's active now. The only way Jake walks away is if he completes the job his great-grandfather started. Then he's dead. They all are. Every Carter who touches that gold ends up... The tape cut off. I sat in that small room, surrounded by evidence of my family's sins, and finally understood. The gold wasn't the curse. The curse was believing we could benefit from it. Believing we could take something stolen and transform it into something pure through sheer desperation. My phone buzzed. Marcus. You have the documents? Yes. Good. Bring them to the warehouse, tonight. All of them. Along with the remaining gold. And then what? You let us go? You pretend my family never existed? Then we burn it all. The evidence, the gold, the debt, and you get to watch your mother die in peace instead of terror. That's the best deal any Carter's ever gotten, Jake. I suggest you take it. I didn't go to the warehouse, not immediately. Instead, I drove to the nursing home on the edge of town. Riverside Care Facility, where the dying went to be forgotten. Room 47. The man inside was thin, gray, with eyes that had seen too much and forgotten most of it. But when I walked in, those eyes focused with startling clarity. Hello, son. Robert Carter, my father, alive, breathing, and absolutely terrified. They told me you were dead, I said. I tried to be. Easier that way. His voice was rough, damaged. Easier than explaining why I left. You left because of the gold, I said. I left because staying would have killed you both. Marcus gave me a choice. Complete the job or watch him hurt you and your mother. So I ran. Thought if I disappeared, the debt would disappear with me. It didn't. No, it never does. It just waited for you to be old enough to take my place. He coughed, wet and painful. How much do you have left? 18 bars. Give 'em back, Jake. All of 'em. Tonight. Don't make the same mistake I did. What mistake was that? Thinking I was smarter than the curse. Thinking I could negotiate. I tried to bargain. Told Marcus I'd give him half the gold if he'd leave my family alone. You know what he did? He took the half I offered and said the rest was interest. That's how they operate. They take and take until there's nothing left but the debt. I sat in the chair beside his bed. He smelled like antiseptic and failure. Mom thinks you abandoned us. I did. That was the only way to save you. You saved nothing. You just delayed it. The anger in my voice surprised even me. I've spent my whole life watching Mom destroy herself, thinking if I just worked hard enough, I could fix what you broke. And now I find out you didn't break it. You inherited it. Just like Grandpa. Just like I did. Then break the cycle. His hand reached for mine, fingers skeletal and weak. Give back the gold. Walk away. Let the debt die. I can't. I already spent some of it. Mom's medication, our rent. She'd rather die than watch you become me. His grip tightened. I know, because she told me. Before I left, she looked me in the eyes and said, if this money costs you your soul, I don't want it. And I took it anyway. Told myself I was doing it for her, for you. But I was doing it for me. Because being poor was humiliating, and the gold was right there, whispering that I deserved better. Did you? Deserve better? He laughed bitterly. "Nobody deserves anything, Jake. We just get what we're willing to pay for. I paid with my family. My grandfather paid with his life. Your grandfather paid with his sanity. What are you willing to pay?" I thought about Mom, asleep in our apartment, unaware that I was visiting the ghost who'd haunted us for 15 years. Thought about the 18 bars still hidden under my bed. Thought about Marcus waiting at the warehouse with documents that would destroy what little remained of the Carter name. "What's in the documents?" I asked. Dad's face went carefully blank. "You opened the box?" I watched Grandpa's testimony. He said the gold was payment for a job. What job? Silence. The kind that answers everything. "Dad, what job?" The factory wasn't just manufacturing equipment. It was a front. During the Cold War, the government contracted private facilities to produce other things. Weapons, experimental, the kind they couldn't officially acknowledge. He closed his eyes. Your great-grandfather and Holloway were supposed to destroy evidence of what was being made there. Instead, they stole the gold and ran, left the evidence intact. If that ever surfaces, people go to prison. People die, Jake. Government doesn't forgive that kind of betrayal. Everyone connected to that factory, everyone who profited, everyone whose name appears in those documents, they're all targets, including us. The room felt smaller, colder. Marcus wants to burn it all, the documents, the evidence. He wants to burn you, make it look like you destroyed evidence to protect your family. You become the scapegoat, we stay free, and the debt finally ends with your death. My phone buzzed. Marcus again. "Where are you?" I didn't answer. "Jake," Dad's voice was urgent now. "There's one other option, one I didn't have the courage for." "What?" "Go to the police. Give them everything. The gold, the documents, the names. Cooperate fully. The Carter family goes down, but you might survive it. Witness protection, new identity. You and your mother disappear for real this time. She's too sick to move. Then you move, alone. You live. You escape this. And leave her to die alone, just like you did?" The words hung between us like a knife. "I didn't leave her alone," Dad whispered. "I left her with you, with hope that one Carter man might be different, might better." His eyes met mine, and I saw genuine grief there. "Don't prove me wrong." I stood. The chair scraped against linoleum. "I'm going to the warehouse." "With the gold?" "With a choice, his or mine." "Jake, you ran because you were scared. Grandpa hid because he was complicit. Great-grandpa stole because he was greedy. I'm tired of being ashamed of my name, tired of carrying debts I didn't incur. If this ends tonight, it ends because I chose to end it, not because someone else decided my fate." That's what we all said, right before the curse took everything. I walked to the door, stopped. "If I don't come back, tell Mom I love her, and that I'm sorry. Not for what I did, but for not being strong enough to do it differently." "Jake," his voice cracked, "please." But I was already gone. The warehouse was dark except for a single light in the center. Marcus stood beneath it, flanked by his 2 enforcers. The duffel bag at my feet held all 18 remaining bars, heavy enough to change everything, or end it. "You're late," Marcus said. "I was visiting my father. You remember him, the man you've been keeping in a nursing home as insurance." Something flickered across Marcus's face. Surprise, maybe? Or respect. "He told you. Everything. The factory, the weapons, the government contracts, the evidence you're so desperate to destroy." I unzipped the bag, let him see the gold glinting in the harsh light. "You don't want this gold, Marcus. You want me gone, dead, framed, whatever's convenient." "Smart kid. Smarter than your father. My father was terrified. I'm just tired. I kicked the bag toward him. Take it. All of it. The gold, the documents, everything. But you leave my mother alone. That's the deal. Marcus smiled. That was the deal. But you broke into a cop's house, stole from a bank, assaulted, well, you will assault someone before the night's over. By morning, Jake Carter will be a suspect in multiple felonies. Maybe even a body, depending on how cooperative you are. Or, I pulled out my phone, showed him the screen, recording. By morning, the FBI will have copies of every document in that safe deposit box, along with testimony from Gerald Reeves, my father, and several other witnesses who've agreed to cooperate in exchange for immunity. The smile vanished. You're bluffing. Am I? I pressed send. The files uploaded. Every photograph, every ledger entry, every name. Sent to an email address Reeves had given me. An FBI agent he'd worked with decades ago. Someone who'd been waiting for exactly this evidence. You have about 20 minutes before they arrive. Use them wisely. Marcus moved fast, faster than I expected for a man his age. His hand was around my throat before I could react, slamming me against a concrete pillar. You just killed your mother. No, I saved her. Because now you can't touch her without confirming everything I've sent. She becomes a witness, protected, untouchable. You hurt her, you prove the conspiracy. His grip tightened. Then I'll kill you both. Make it look like a murder-suicide. Desperate kid, sick mother, tragic ending. Except my father's testimony is already recorded, time-stamped. If I die, it goes public. If my mother dies, it goes public. The only way you walk away from this is if we both live long enough for the FBI to decide we're not worth prosecuting. The pressure on my throat eased. Marcus stepped back, breathing hard. You stupid kid. You just destroyed all of us. No, I just ended it. The gold, the debt, the curse, all of it. Whatever happens next, it happens to everyone equally. No more Carters taking the fall for Holloways. No more secrets protecting guilty men. Your great-grandfather was a thief, I know. My grandfather was complicit. My father was a coward. And I'm the one who broke the cycle. Not by being better than them, by refusing to keep their secrets. Sirens in the distance, growing closer. Marcus looked at the gold, then at me. You know they'll take everything. Your family, mine, all of it exposed. Your mother will die knowing her husband's name is connected to weapons trafficking. You'll spend years in court, maybe prison. This doesn't save anyone, Jake. It just spreads the suffering. Maybe, but at least it's honest suffering. At least we're not pretending anymore. The warehouse doors burst open. FBI agents, armed, shouting commands. Marcus and his men hit the ground. I raised my hand slowly, phone still clutched in one palm. An agent approached. Older woman, gray hair, tired eyes. Jake Carter? Yes, ma'am. I'm Agent Morrison. Gerald Reeves called me. Said you had information about the 1963 Riverside case. Everything. Documents, testimony, evidence. It's all in the email I sent you. She studied me for a long moment. You understand you're implicated in this too. Your family's involvement? I know. I'm ready to cooperate. Fully. Whatever it takes. What about your mother? She didn't know. None of this is her fault. She's sick, dying. I'm asking, begging, that you let her live out whatever time she has left in peace. Please. Agent Morrison glanced at Marcus, handcuffed on the ground, rage radiating from him like heat. Then back at me. We'll do what we can. No promises. That's more than my family's ever given anyone else. They led me out in handcuffs. Past the gold that had destroyed 4 generations. Past Marcus Holloway, whose family had been equally corrupted. Past the warehouse that smelled like endings. The night air was cold, clean. For the first time in weeks, I could breathe. They released me after 72 hours. Cooperation, they called it. Witness protection consideration pending. Mom didn't know I'd been arrested. Agent Morrison had kept it quiet. Mercy I didn't deserve, but accepted anyway. I found her in the kitchen when I got home, making tea with shaking hands. She looked up when I walked in, and I saw in her eyes that she knew. Maybe not the details, but the shape of what I'd done. Jake. I'm sorry, Mom. She set down the kettle, carefully, like everything might shatter if she moved too quickly. Your father came to see me. My stomach dropped. When? Yesterday. First time in 15 years. He sat in that chair, she pointed to where I was standing, and told me everything. The gold, the debt, what you did to end it. Mom, he also told me you went to prison, or would have if you hadn't cooperated. That our family name will be in newspapers, connected to weapons trafficking and government conspiracy. That I'll die watching our life be destroyed publicly. I couldn't look at her. I didn't know what else to do. They were going to kill us. So you killed our reputation instead. Her voice wasn't angry, just infinitely sad. You made the same choice your father made. Your grandfather, your great-grandfather. You chose survival over dignity. I chose your life over mine. Did I ask you to? Now the anger came, sharp and clean. Did I ever say I wanted to live badly enough to watch you become a criminal? To watch you betray everything I tried to teach you about honor and honesty and doing the right thing even when it costs you? The right thing would have gotten you killed. Then let me die. The words echoed in our small kitchen. I've had a good life, Jake. Not an easy one, but a good one. I raised a son I was proud of. A son who worked hard, studied hard, tried to make something of himself despite everything. And then you found that gold, and you became just another Carter man who thought money could save him. The truth of it hit like a physical blow. You're right. She blinked, surprised. You're right, I said again. I should have walked away. Should have come home that night, told you what I found and let it stay buried. But I didn't. I looked at your medication bottles and your past due notices, and I thought, I can fix this. Thought I could use something rotten to create something pure. But it doesn't work that way. It never has. Mom was crying now, silent tears tracking down her cheeks. What happens now? FBI's still investigating. I'm cooperating, giving testimony against the Holloway family, against everyone whose name appeared in those documents. In exchange, they're offering immunity, witness protection if necessary. And me? You're clear. You didn't know anything. They believe that. Because it's true. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. I never wanted to know. Your father tried to tell me once, right before he left. I stopped him. Said whatever secret he was carrying, I didn't want to share the weight. So he carried it alone. And it destroyed him. I thought I was different. Thought I was stronger. You're not different, Jake. None of you were. You're all just men who loved your families enough to destroy yourselves trying to save them. She stood, walked to me, put her hand against my cheek. But you're still my son. Still the boy I raised. And if the FBI is offering protection, I want you to take it. I'm not leaving you. You have to. Marcus Holloway has allies, people who want revenge for what you've done. You stay here, you paint a target on both our backs. Then come with me. She smiled sadly. Baby, I've got 6 months, maybe less. I'm not spending what's left running from shadows. But you've got your whole life ahead of you. A chance to be something besides a Carter carrying a curse. I don't want to leave you again. Not after.
After your father did? She nodded. I know, but he left because he was scared. You're leaving because you're brave enough to survive what we couldn't. Her hand dropped. That's different. We stood in that kitchen, the same kitchen where I'd shown her the first 15,000, where she'd begged me to walk away, where every Carter family meal had been eaten in the shadow of secrets. And I understood. The curse wasn't the gold, wasn't the debt, wasn't even the choices we made. The curse was love. Desperate, foolish love that made us do terrible things for noble reasons. Love that justified theft and lies and betrayal because surely protecting the people we loved was worth any cost. Except it never was. I love you, Mom. I love you too, baby. Now go, before I change my mind. 2 months later, Mom died on a Tuesday. Peacefully, the hospice nurse said, in her sleep. No pain at the end. I wasn't there. Couldn't be. Witness protection meant distance, safety, a new name in a new city with new patterns that didn't include watching my mother die. Agent Morrison called with the news, asked if I wanted to come back for the funeral. I said no, because the FBI had agreed to let me live, but returning meant risks. For me, for anyone who'd helped me, for the fragile peace we'd negotiated. So I mourned alone, in an apartment that didn't smell like home, in a city that didn't know my name, working a job that didn't ask questions about my past. The gold was gone, seized as evidence. Marcus Holloway was awaiting trial. His associates were being rounded up. The documents I'd released had triggered the largest Cold War-era investigation in decades. Newspapers called it a scandal. Historians called it a revelation. I called it what it was, the end of a family curse, paid for with my mother's lonely death and my father's broken heart. Dad died 3 weeks after Mom. Heart attack, they said, but I knew better. He'd held on long enough to know she was safe, and then he'd let go. Released himself from a debt that had never really been about money. I'm 21 now, living under a name I still don't think of as mine. Working at a coffee shop, taking online classes, trying to build a life that doesn't include gold or guns or generational curses. Sometimes I wonder if it was worth it, if exposing everything, destroying everyone was really the right choice. If maybe I should have just given back the gold and hoped for mercy. But then I remember, Carter men don't get mercy. We get choices. And I chose truth over comfort, justice over safety, and ending over endless repetition. The curse is broken, the debt is paid, and I'm still here, carrying the weight of what that cost, carrying it honestly, openly, without the lies that killed my father and grandfather and great-grandfather before him. That has to be worth something. It has to be. If you've stayed with me through this story, through the gold and the guns and the generational trauma, thank you. Thank you for listening to one more Carter man's confession. One more story about how desperation turns good people into criminals, and how love isn't always enough to save the people we die to protect. Hit that like button if this story made you feel something. Subscribe if you want to hear more stories about the weight we carry and the prices we pay. Drop a comment telling me, would you have made the same choice? Or is there a cost too high, even for family? Because I'm still not sure I made the right one. But it's the only one I could live with. And sometimes, that's all we get.